Hey healers, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. So I've been wanting to give you guys an update on this group healing that I've been doing, and it's been so hard to get it out because what we're working on in this group healing is the collective famine, refugee, poverty, slavery wound. This is no small feat to dig into this intergenerational root chakra wounding and clean it up. So the way that it looks, the way that these wounds manifest generations later is eating disorders, domestic violence, child abuse, workaholism, alcoholism, not being able to enjoy your life, not being able to enjoy the time with your loved ones, not being able to enjoy yourself, not feeling good about yourself. It causes low self-esteem. Because when you go through extreme experiences of abuse and an attack, violence, especially as a child, it changes the way that you look at yourself. Because you think, I must be bad. If they were to do that to me, what other explanation is there then? Something is wrong with me. You start to see yourself that way as someone who is able to be violated. And it makes you different from people who don't see themselves that way. This is where all the law of attraction and manifestation in unconscious limiting beliefs gets real. Because all of that spiritual talk is not separate from what goes on in real life, in reality. And a lot of people don't understand like how we could be manifesting things like this, because when you have a deep-seated belief inside yourself that this is what happens to you and what happens to people like you, and this is the treatment you typically receive, and people that you know, people that are like you who come from where you come from, this is the treatment that you receive, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because that is the power of our minds and our imaginations. It is really that strong. It's not really as simple as just saying some affirmations and choosing to believe something different about yourself. You have to go through experiences that repattern how you see yourself, that repattern your entire perception of reality, of yourself and others. There's only so much that you can do on the ritual side, the scripting side, the journaling side, because I have the healing mind control ritual that I do every month, and it is wonderful for stuff like this. But it can only do so much, because you have to have the lived experiences of receiving something different, of experiencing something different. So if you have, pervasive mental strongholds saying that a certain type of person deals with you a certain type of way, and they always get the upper hand, and they always put you on the bottom, and you change that thought form by experiencing what's really true, like by taking your agency, because a lot of these experiences can create learned helplessness. So you just don't even try, because you think, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to be able to influence the situation any differently than what I've already seen, what I've already experienced. So what's the point? Here we go. It's just going to be another one of the same. So the way to break out of that is to have a different experience, like to go through that, to like tell yourself, you encounter a person and they're reminding you of somebody else that you've known, and you think, oh, here we go. They about to do this, they about to do that. And in the moment you catch yourself and you say, well, actually, I don't have to allow that, and I can allow something different. And you allow yourself to engage with the moment without projecting from the inside of your mind what you think the moment is. You allow yourself to take charge and have agency. And so this is the energy work that we've been doing. So for those people that tuned in, that plugged in for the energy work, this is what we've been working on. So I'd love to hear how it worked for you guys. I have a broadcast channel on my Instagram, Garden of Eden. And that's where I've been working out a lot of these ideas about healing the collective intergenerational famine, refugee, poverty wound. because it's kind of hard to talk about, and that's by design. Like, we have vows of silence that limit our ability to speak on these things. Why? Because this is spiritual warfare. All war is spiritual warfare. The most effective part of war is spiritual war. Physical fighting is not that effective. You have to, like, have manpower. You have to have artillery. A magician, a witch, a magical person, a coven can do way more damage than an army can. This is what is going on behind the scenes of the generational curses that we experience. Like, they didn't just come out of nowhere. They didn't just come from our own fucked up choices. When you're put into a refugee situation, basically what happens is the opposition is trying to destabilize you, literally trying to get you out of your home, and they're trying to make you mess up. They're trying to scare you so that you'll run out of town and forget your kid, or, you know, forget something important that you need. Like, they're trying to scare you so that you'll mess up and make a mistake. And this is why a calm emotional state is your best friend. We're in a revolution. We're in a world war. It's already happening. We don't have to wait for anybody to declare it. It's already happening. So what are you going to do about it? If you haven't already been developing your intuition and working on it, like, you're not going to be okay. And this is the massive split between humanity that's happening right now. This is why so many guides have been preaching for years that there's a call to action for people who are spiritually ordained as priests and priestesses, who are meant to provide healing care to other people, to step up. Over the past 5 to 10 years, there's been this massive call for all hands on deck, all healers to step up. Why? Because we're entering into the belly of the beast to destroy this thing from the inside out. And a lot of people are not going to be able to handle it, especially the people that have been the most complicit. Imagine how it's hard enough if you're poor, you're working hard to create, like, a life for yourself where you can have a living and not have to hurt people. Imagine all the people who have been actively hurting people with their work and contributing to pollution, to violence, to warfare, to displacement of other people. The majority of jobs that exist under capitalism in this paradigm exist to support the military state. This is a genocidal death cult. They commit war crimes. It's par for the course, and they don't think nothing of it. And the majority of people who have been groomed into that don't think nothing of it either, because it's their survival. So they're willing to be part of something that hurts others, that kills others, that displaces others, that disenfranchises others, because they don't want that to happen to them. They want to be good. They want to be solid. They want to have money in their bank account. So it's everything. It doesn't matter where you work. Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? Are you an engineer? Are you a lawyer? So we all have to have our role somewhere. It's not that this is the thing that's happening right now. It's not necessarily that your job is going to change, but your role is going to change. And it has to do with what you choose. Because the reason why people get into these situations and they make these concessions is because they've had to for survival for generations, who knows how long. Like, most families, they have a trade. They have a trade. But if your family's trade is being spiritually gifted and being spiritual guides, you've been persecuted. You're from the sacred bloodlines that have been persecuted. You're the quote-unquote chosen ones. So my private membership for Chosen Ones, the foundation, that is where I go deeper into my group healings. That is where I provide you guys with full moon and new moon rituals. That is where I have a video vault full of exclusive content. That is where I support you building your solid foundation because when you've had these experiences of persecution and then you go to explore your spiritual gifts, that can be very threatening and very destabilizing, because this is what you've been persecuted all over the planet for, put into slavery for. Basically the thesis statement of my work looking into this collective intergenerational famine refugee wound, it's by design to destabilize sacred bloodlines so that they will be vulnerable to being put into spiritual slavery, so that they will be taken from their sacred role as leaders and guides in the community to be placed in a role where their spiritual gifts are exploited so they can work for the state, so that the state can amass more wealth, more slaves, more concubines. So, I mean, those are slaves of all kinds. So everyone has to contribute and everyone has to be complicit in order to participate. But what we're seeing is that was by design. That's the whole reason why these particular bloodlines were stalked and attacked, and the whole point of getting them out of their homes was to make them vulnerable, specifically vulnerable to sex trafficking, because that's the point of the militaristic nation state, sex trafficking. That's the whole point. It's for the spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare is more effective than physical warfare. Priests and priestesses from sacred bloodlines are needed for certain rituals, and they have to be groomed from childhood. So the whole point of these wars and these famine campaigns and putting people into refugee status is to destabilize their foundation so they're vulnerable to sex trafficking, so they're vulnerable to sacrifice, and specifically so that their children are vulnerable to sacrifice and to sex slavery. So this is what I know from not just working with hundreds of clients who are sex workers and survivors, but my own lived experience as a Palestinian sold into ritual sexual abuse and commercial sexual exploitation as a child with no memory of it. So then going into a career as a sex worker where I'm serving a particular clientele, it's my role to play in the machine. So for a lot of sex workers, it's like you're working one of the jobs that you're least likely to hurt people, but you're serving people who it's their job to hurt people. So we don't get away from it in any way until it all comes down. And whether or not that's actually feasible, what does a world look like without violence? How do you protect what's yours? How do you defend the vulnerable? Was that ever really an issue? You think about villages where everyone had telepathy. People knew what was going on with one another. If somebody was going to try to kill them, they knew. And this is the scary thing right now, is that we're dealing with a global refugee crisis that could affect any of us at any moment. Look at the people in California. Look at the people in Asheville. They didn't expect to lose their homes in a freak natural disaster, but they did. And they instantly became refugees. And just like here in New Orleans, look at how Katrina, a natural disaster, but that's not what caused the flooding. The flooding was caused by controlled demolition. The levees, they specifically decided to flood out certain areas because that's where poor people lived. So then it's just like what they're doing in Gaza, but it's a war. It's not a natural disaster, it's a war. So it's called genocide, it's called gentrification, it's called occupation. And once people flee, then their land is there. It's prime real estate for the usurpers to do whatever they want with. And now they have this class of people who are generational refugees, who are generationally impoverished, and who's the only like support and safety and provision they've ever known is charity. So this breeds learned helplessness. This breeds a slave mentality. You don't have to be shackled up in chains to be a slave. It's much more effective if your mental mindset is the one that's trapping you, because you feel helpless, because you feel hopeless, and because you think that there's never going to be a way for you to do for yourself. You're always going to need to depend on somebody else, because this has been generationally bred into you in order to make you compliant, in order to put you in a state of servitude. So what's happening on Earth right now is we're getting the chance to break that paradigm down to its core and to really see what's in there. And we all have a piece of the puzzle. So I want to hear your 2 cents in the comments. Let me know. Have you observed what I'm talking about? Did you participate in the group healing? How did it go for you? And what are your thoughts on this that I'm talking about? Basically, like, to return to what I was saying before, the thesis of this whole thing is it's not the cause, it's not the effect, it's the cause. Or wait, it's the cause, not the effect. It's the cause, not the effect. When it comes to sex trafficking, sex slavery, generational prostitution, generational poverty, these wars, it's not that, oh, oops, that happened after the war. No, the entire point of the war was for that to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. The fight was only for the purpose of permanently displacing and permanently disenfranchising the people who were targeted in it. Sacred bloodlines, Palestinians, Sudanese, Somalis, I don't know all the persecuted sacred bloodlines, but you know yours, so drop it in the comments and represent. Because as a psychic medium, I get a lot more general impressions of larger patterns and energy signatures, and I can relate them to myself or to things that I know about, but there's so much that I don't know about, so that's why it'll be more generally applicable. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Leave a comment, let me know. I'm going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep working on this because there's so much to say, but I wanted to get started to clear the throat chakra and open up the dialogue, because I've been trying for like a week and it's been really hard to get it out. So I did this energy work last week. I've been going ham. And our next live stream is going to be alchemizing survivor's guilt into fame, and we're going to have an extended energy healing for the collective in my private membership, the foundation. So make sure you join. I also have an early bird special on Root Lock right now until 10/10 with the code early bird. So get in here, let me coach you, let me help you set up your sovereign solid foundation so you can stay firmly on your square as you're expanding your influence, your visibility, your wealth, and the love that you can take in, because you deserve it, baby. So chat with me, shop my site, ask me anything, and stay tuned. Peace, healers. Masalama.